please help me welcome Colt Briner.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So I have been following the technological advancements that are responsible for ushering in the exponential age for a number of years now, and it's been utterly fascinating to me, this process and this subject matter. And it's also occurred to me that it would be valuable for more people to understand what's developing, what's coming, and where it's going to take us. An exponential age is an age that's difficult for the human brain to kind of get wrapped around. And the reason for that is because when we think about projecting into the future, classically what we do is we imagine what happened in the past going forward, right? Thinking about, well, how much has technology progressed, let's say, in the last 50 years, and then you kind of stand there and scratch your chin and go, wow, that'd be interesting if 50 years from now it advanced that much again. Well, it's not like that at all, right? Because an exponential age obviously moves much faster than it did in the past. Thinking about really the trajectory that you have to imagine, you can't think of a past growth rate or even the current growth rate. It's very hard to project where things are going to go. But I'm going to introduce you to, well, probably not introduce you to because you know, but I'm going to show you the current state of a couple specific technologies and then talk about combinatorial possibilities that are going to help you start to imagine what's really happening here to bring this exponential age. I want to speak briefly to disruption. These are some logos that you probably recognize. These businesses, obviously, some of them doing very well, others not doing so well or even not around anymore. Examples of what can happen when new technologies come into play in established markets, right? So Blockbuster at its peak was 8,000 stores with a $5 billion market value. And in 2011, which was 7 years later, they are utterly bankrupt, right? And they were disrupted, obviously, by Netflix. We have like Kodak, right? So Kodak was a $10 billion company, and in 1998 they had 170,000 employees, and by 2012 also bankrupt. Tower Records, in 1998, 200 stores and $1 billion in annual sales. 2006, which is 8 years later, bankrupt. Uber, right? So let's talk about Uber. Uber has a $5.5 billion net revenue in 2016 and a $62 billion valuation. Airbnb, a $12 billion in bookings in 2016 with a $30 billion valuation, also has the largest inventory of rooms without owning any hotels. And they only came onto the scene in 2014. So very significant shifts taking place in very short amount of time, enabled by the technologies that drive them. The areas of focus for my expanded talk on this, I'm constrained a little bit in the amount of time that I have. Vehicle automation, so self-driving cars, virtual reality and augmented reality, robotics, chatbots, and artificial intelligence, which is an area we will focus a little bit on. And then the combinatorial possibilities of all these things sort of working together. So, talking about self-driving cars. Oops, sorry, went too fast. There's 30 companies, all the major logos that you can imagine in the car space, currently working on self-driving cars, right? We've got Tesla, which you've heard, promising delivery this year, and every other major manufacturer of automobile promising delivery of a self-driving car in their lineup by 2021. I have a 12-year-old son right now, and I'm thinking about the time when he's going to be able to get a license. I'm really trying to figure out if it makes more sense. Do I want him driving his own car, or do I want the car driving him? I'm still wrestling with this idea. Okay, so I want to talk about the rate of adoption when a technology really brings a very meaningful change to people's lives. This is a picture in New York, 1904. You see, each one of these is a horse-drawn carriage, except for these two. Two cars in the street, 1904. 1914, same city, different street. I admit, different street. Couldn't find the exact same street. Every one of those is cars. That's 10 years. Self-driving cars, so what are they? These are vehicles that are equipped with LiDAR and other sensory equipment to understand what's happening around them, so that they take usually between 10,000 and 30,000 measurements per second. And for doing so, they understand exactly the environment around them. Generally, there's 20 cameras, there's GPS, etc. So they're able to basically operate on the roads. They're able to track the objects that are moving around them. A self-driving car allows us to do some very interesting things that we're not really thinking about, right? So the car itself can be reimagined. The driver facing backwards, while that's a terrifying idea right now, could become something very acceptable. You have the ability to have like a conference car experience if you want to. You could have a car that is actually, the purpose of the car is to allow you to conduct a conference when you're en route to a destination. A business team on their way down to San Francisco for a meeting later that day, for example. You could have a sleeper suite car that will take you down to Phoenix while you're enjoying a night's rest. It will have the hot meal waiting for you inside the console if you like. You can also have a workout car. If you're sick of your 1.5-hour commute down to the South Bay, that's ridiculous, you can't get to the South Bay in 1.5 hours. If you're sick of your commute and you want to have a workout on the way, there could be a vehicle that could do that sort of thing. But what's more significant about these changes is the fact that the vehicle ownership model will actually be disrupted substantially. Owning a vehicle won't make sense. Why will it not make sense? It won't make sense because if you have access to a minivan on a Monday, a sedan on a Tuesday, a pickup truck on a Wednesday, a sports car on a Saturday, and you're simply subscribing to an automotive service, you can have access to all these vehicles, order them from your watch or your phone, and have them arrive at your house and never be responsible for fueling it, insuring it, cleaning it, oiling it, any of the things you pay for now. And the best part is you're only paying for what you use. I have a car sitting out front right now. I wasn't dropped off. I drove myself. I parked that car. I'm paying for that car right now. And right now. And right now. Because I own this car, and I insure this car, and I fuel this car, and I put tires in this car, and I clean this car. But when you're paying only for what you use, the cost ownership model goes from what it is now to 1/3 or 1/4 what you're currently paying. Because when the car that you normally park in the garage by your office, instead of parking there, goes to service its next client, you're not paying for that portion anymore. So when my car sits idle, or not even idling, my car sits dead during the great portion of the day, and I'm still paying for that, that comes to an end. But a lot of other things come to an end. This kind of technology has the potential to vastly improve the fuel efficiency of vehicles like long-haul trucks, because they can operate within 18 inches of each other and save 20 to 25% of the fuel costs for doing so out of managing wind resistance. Self-driving cars also have an implication for people who are currently operating vehicles, right? Besides the truck drivers, you have a vast array of delivery drivers, taxi drivers, Uber drivers. This is an example of an actual taxi service, an automated vehicle service that is in operation now and has been for 2 years, fully automated vehicles. So there's a significant impact from a technology like this in the employment market, and also in the markets that surround vehicle employment. So you can think about service stations, fueling stations. You can think about shops that do tires, shops that do cleaning, shops that do whatever it is that's around that. You also have issues around, are you going to need a meter maid? Are you going to need people doing a highway patrol enforcement? All of these careers are potentially impacted by the advent of this technology. Domino's pizza drivers, right? This is a vehicle that literally drives itself to the destination where the pizza is supposed to be. There's an iPad right there that, yeah, this is my order. Can I have it, please? And you get the pizza out from the side there. This is the movie car, right? Enjoying your movie on your way to your destination. Self-driving cars, what changes, right? So the car ownership model changes. Imagine not having to park your car in your driveway or your garage. We mentioned Airbnb earlier today. Why not convert your garage to an Airbnb? Make some money on the side. You won't need to house your own vehicle, right? You won't need to use the driveway space. You won't need a garage, so you won't need a driveway. You want to use that driveway to make a pool or something, right? So a lot of things can change. Roadway capacity, obviously safety. These are interesting issues, right? Motels, is that going to be important? Are you going to need them? If you have to do an overnight drive somewhere, why not just allow the vehicle to keep taking you there instead of staying at the hotel? Robotics. All right, robotic automation is obviously impacting a lot of spaces, but it sounds inaccessible to a lot of organizations. This here is Dexter. Dexter is a robot that you can program by showing him what to do. Oh, indeed. There's two ways that you can program this robot. You can illustrate, right, like by doing a thing and then Baxter will be able to do the same thing. Or you can actually manipulate, directly grab and manipulate his hands to move them in the ways that you want. Those movements will be remembered and can be repeated infinitely, right? To have a robot that you can program by showing it what to do has obviously some significant implications, ramifications. Implications, by the way, is the combination of implications and ramifications. Just made that up. The new technologies these days, they're making up new words, right? This is interesting. Do you guys know who Foxconn is? Foxconn, based out of China, recently. Yep, that's true too. Some interesting employment practices for Foxconn, also responsible for the manufacture of most of Apple's products. Laid off 60,000 Chinese workers because they have brought in automation. That's significant. If you have automation that has become more affordable than the workers that are being, I'll use this term in quotes, employed in China, that's a pretty significant deal. Wow. How many cars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars being manufactured, simultaneously manufacturing 8 cars. How many people? There's one. He's up here, up in the corner, sort of behind the pillar, hiding from all the robots. And number 2, this guy over here. Doesn't seem really to be working very hard, but I get it. Like the robots have basically taken over. Yeah, so these are, you do have to pay for these. Generally, they pay for themselves after 2 to 2.5 years, and for 20 years after that, they run virtually cost-free. It's the price of electricity. Who's this? What is this? This is Da Vinci. Da Vinci is a robotic surgeon. A robotic surgeon that can either be controlled by an actual physician or can operate autonomously, operate on its own. For me, I've had an appendectomy. For me, one of the key questions that I want to ask when that physician is walking down the hall towards me to have a conversation, how many times has this person done this procedure successfully? How many times this procedure successfully? That's a key question. What if there was a robot that had performed this procedure 1,000 times a month successfully? Which do you want walking down the hall towards you? I don't have an answer to that question. I'm not suggesting that that should be an obvious answer, but it's one that we start thinking about when these technologies become available. These are autonomous robots capable of basically 3D printing a home, a building, a structure. They're using concrete to do so. They're basically extruding concrete. Concrete gets fed into these machines, and they 3D print out the structure. They can build an entire home in a day. That seems like a significant rate of speed. These are autonomous welding robots. Inside them, they have spools of steel. You start them on either end, press go. They work towards the middle until the bridge is built. These are real. They actually exist. Now, this is the space that I'm working in these days. So I work with VisiQuate. We're based in Santa Rosa on Courthouse Square in the Luther Burbank building. We do artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions for enterprise healthcare management. We don't work on the clinic side. We work in the back office. So we support very large organizations. These are the ones you'd think of like Sutter and Kaiser around this area. These are the types of organizations we support. And we have a lot of things that we do to help them manage all the data that exists in those enterprises. It is an enormous volume of data that they're dealing with, so much so that human intelligences struggle to find all the opportunities in that data. So we develop artificial intelligence solutions to help them do that. Chatbots, you might be familiar with Alexa or Siri or Google Assistant, are giving us capacities that we did not have before, basically superpower type capacities, right? So what do I mean? Right now in my house, I have Google Assistant on my kitchen countertop. I can say, hey, Google, play Game of Thrones on the Den TV. TV turns itself on. Netflix gets, actually that would have to be HBO, gets activated, and the next episode, or even if I'm right in the middle of an episode, starts from where I left off. Well, that kind of thing is becoming commonplace now. You can order flowers, you can order an Uber. These things are well-known processes that you can undertake with chatbots today. What's coming? Drafting letters, ordering ingredients that you need for something, not to be specific about the ingredients, but I need to make a lasagna. Can you order me the ingredients? Amazon Fresh can deliver those to your door. That can happen within hours if you're in a high populated area. Some other examples here, but I'm going to show you some specific things, right? Lots of investments going into the AI space. I don't know if you guys were aware that Kasparov was beat in chess, but this picture is more significant than Kasparov being beat in chess because this is a picture of the game of Go. In 2017, AlphaGo defeats the world champion at the most strategically advanced game humans have ever created. I don't know if anyone here has played Go. Winning Go is a significant undertaking, especially if you're going against the grand champion. We now have computers that are capable of doing that without fail. Diagnosing disease states from images. So in this case, you have the opportunity to feed an artificial intelligence hundreds of thousands of images with diagnostic outcomes. I don't care if you've got the best physician in the world, for them to simultaneously be able to recall and make decisions from even 1,000 images would be an enormous feat. There is no limit to the number of images that you can feed into an artificial intelligence to make it more accurate at diagnosing disease states. It was in 2017 that automated intelligences were 7.6% more accurate than the best physicians in the world at diagnosing a specific and small set of disease states based on images. That's only going to expand going forward. I'm actually going to press play on this for a second. You're going to see here briefly a short video for a intuitive design AI at work. An intuitive design AI is an artificial intelligence that you feed parameters into, in this case, a chassis for a 4-copter drone, small like hobby drone, that had to be strong, lightweight, efficient for materials, etc. An intuitive design AI has the capacity to explore, quote, an entire solution space, every possible permutation of the outcome until it comes up with the optimal. This is an example of a concept airliner being developed using intuitive design AIs. It's not obviously available or in market yet, but there are component parts of modern planes, 747s, like partitions. Here's an example that were designed by intuitive design AIs by, again, exploring the entire solution space until the optimal outcome was found. This is the same way that nature evolves things, right? This is a race car chassis being equipped with dozens of sensors. And then it's going to be driven around a world-class racetrack by a world-class driver, picking up some 10 million points of data. Those data points are going to be fed into an intuitive design AI with the purpose of designing a race car chassis that is efficient for materials, lightweight, and strong. To imagine what that would look like for a human, obviously a lot of challenges would be involved. Yes, they can leverage computers, but to come up with a design that looks like this and can operate, look at that, that's the design. This can be 3D printed. It looks organic. To me, I say, of course it looks organic because nature's been designing efficient structures for millions, hundreds of millions of years. It makes total sense to me that this would look organic. Nice design there. I like these designs to me, I just find them very compelling, right? But obviously, putting people out of jobs. Okay. So why show you the chatbot after we're talking about intuitive design AIs? Intuitive design AIs right now are complicated to interact with. The system that we developed for VisiQuate, that's the company I work with, for hospitals to interact with their data, we had an analytics platform in the marketplace for 10 years. Yes, you need to have significant knowledge on how to interact with the system, to build the reports, to leverage the data. But now, all you need to do is ask. Show me all the denials that we got from Blue Cross Blue Shield in the last 6 months for Blue Spruce Medical Clinic where the denied amount is greater than $5,000 and the reason was timely filing. Bloop. Get the answer back. So what I'm saying is the systems that are being developed right now that basically give us superpowers if we know how to use them are also being merged with the capacity to make conversational requests. Photoshop. Who knows how to do Photoshop in here? Maybe 10. It's not an easy program to learn. But if you need Photoshop work, you have to contact the designer and say, hey, could you make this for me? Imagine, of course, Adobe, the creator of Photoshop, wants everyone to be able to buy and use Photoshop. So what are they doing? They're creating a conversational UI. Can you make the sunset a little bit more pink? And I need the gazebo to stand out just a tad more. Bleep. Right? This is CAD. Anybody here a CAD designer? 3, okay. Everybody in here could, in the near future, be CAD designers just by making verbal requests, right? Verbal requests, CAD design, marry that up with an intuitive design AI, conversational UI, user interface, and now each one of us has the potential to create on a scale that has been unprecedented heretofore. This is what the exponential age will look like, and these are the technologies, some of them, that will be driving it. Helping people understand how to thrive in this age, these are some of the requests that you can make of the AI that we developed at VisIQuate. Helping people understand these technologies and the impacts they're going to bring is something that I've kind of undertaken because I think they're absolutely fascinating. And while a lot of the implications, trying to remember that word again. I forgot it, shoot, I gotta write that one down. It's being recorded, perfect. To understand the implications, and yet to be able to position yourself according to the opportunities that are arising, right? To take advantage of what a person can now do by leveraging what's available to you in this exponential age. That's something that I've been undertaking as well. So this is basically just the scary part. Hopefully I can come back and speak to you guys again and talk about the opportunity part as well. I really appreciate a great lunch, and thank you for taking time to listen. What questions do you have?